We've brought two of the best jump jockeys of all time together, Sir Anthony McCoy and Barry Geraghty, to relive some of their amazing memories throughout the years.
And they're off.
Synchronised AP made quite a lot of mistakes this day, which I think made it kind of a bit more impressive.
You know, there was a lot of history to Synchronised. His mum, Mayasta, was my first ever winner for JP McManus at the 1996 Punchestown Festival. He had a horse that kept improving. He'd won a Midlands National, he'd won a Welsh Grand National. Yeah. He went and won, before this, he'd won a Lexus at Leopardstown at Christmas. If you had asked me 2 years earlier, would Synchronised ever be winning a Lexus or lining up in a Gold Cup, I'd have thought, not a chance. He wasn't quick enough. That's all it came down to. If you'd have ran him over 5 miles, he'd have jumped well. Yeah. But a brilliant training performance.
Synchronised White Face comes next, ahead of Weird Al, then Diamond Harry, and the Midnight Club at the rear of the field as they step over the water jump. Once again, the field take it without mishap. Synchronised, however, is just being niggled along.
He's travelling okay-ish, if you like. Again, it's one of those things you think you'd rather not be in the inside on him, but he wasn't quick enough to go out riding him. So, you know, so you've got to save the ground and hope you're not, you know, having to get after him too early.
Synchronised is still towards the rear, and Burton Port was pushed along for a stride or two on landing there as well.
Burton Port, actually, Barry, didn't look like he was travelling that well either.
No, he was flat to the boards. Went a real good gallop, didn't we? Good ground as well. Like we were in top gear, and probably a little bit like yourself. Just not naturally a speedy horse.
Yeah. Midnight Chase that's in front, it was obviously a very good jumper and took them along, and then you have the other two horses.
McCarran, Long Run, Cotto.
Actually here you can see Cotto Star actually going backwards, and obviously I was kind of at the back of the field at this stage, and I know when I got to this fence I could see that Cotto Star had basically he completely lost his position, and I can remember, I think I said something to Ruby like, you may as well pull him up because there's only one going worse than me, and it's you. And
so he did.
And I'm afraid Cotto Star, a real National Hunt giant, is going to bow out at an early stage in his 6th consecutive Gold Cup.
Again, at this stage in the Gold Cup, even though he'd won a Grade 1 and a Lexus just beforehand, I felt like I definitely couldn't have gone any faster. You know, I was basically hanging on the best I could. I was hanging on for dear life.
Like, there's points in races where if you weren't probably the kind of determined person that you were, you probably just think you know you can't win here, and then you pull up. Or
no, I think everyone, you know, the last thing you want to do is give up and pull up. I think that's yeah, everyone wants to do that. You're no different than others.
It's that when they keep responding, when you go for a little bit and there's a little bit there, and you get a response.
And I always think, you know, and I don't think people talk about the mind of a horse enough. You know, about not playing mind games with them, but finding a way of giving them hope and giving them encouragement.
Yeah, well, sports people, that will to win. Yeah, some horses have it and some don't, and if they don't, it's hard to win races.
Yeah, it's always trying to find a little way that you can find a little bit of encouragement or a little bit of hope. And I know that John Joe was in JP's box watching the race, and someone turned to him and says, well, he's got no chance. And John Joe said to me, goes, no, that's how he runs. Because when they saw him off the bridle down along the side here, they thought that he couldn't win.
Synchronised has always been on the back foot, but he's beginning to make a bit of ground.
It was just always about keeping him just close enough, just hang on a little bit, hang on to the back of him the best you could. And even though I was pushing him and all that, I don't know if I was playing mind games with him or playing mind games with myself, but I was trying to give us both hope.
And out in front, time for Rupert sharing the lead with Midnight Chase. Long Run and China Rock, Burton Port edging closer with the Giant Bolster and Synchronised, and these 7 have broken away.
How were you going in this race? Burton Port went quite well, didn't you? Again, made odd mistakes, but...
Yeah, he was close to top gear. Not as close as AP was, but yeah, I'm on the back foot most of the way, hanging in, but I probably wasn't getting the same response. So I was there under maybe more sufferance.
You know, the one thing about Synchronised, again, he wasn't a particularly good jumper. You could see that, but it was more because he was always going to fresh and quicker than he was able. But again, you need to have the heart to win.
Racing then towards the 4th last, now in front, time for Rupert. It is who leads the turn, time for Rupert on the outside of Midnight Chase. China Rock, then Long Run, Burton Port, then the Giant Bolster, and Synchronised continuing to work himself into the race.
Because I was actually still in contention, you always think you have hope. But it was actually here, I went to pull him out, and when I went to pull him out, I could feel him picking up again, and I thought, oh, he's actually going okay, you know.
down towards the third last. Long run on the right with the noseband. Burton Porty's stable companion, China Rock, and Synchronised towards the outside.
Still off the bend, you're still thinking, oh, they're going to get away from him, and you know he's going to have to really stay. But you can see from the second last when I pulled him back out to the outside again that he started the motor down to the last again. So he didn't. The one thing you knew that he had was, you know, the one thing that in fact he was this close in the Gold Cup, he was always going to stay better than the rest of them.
Synchronised, who was flat to the boards early, has fought his way to the front. Long run battling on the far side, the giant bolster, but it's Synchronised who's come right from the back of the field to win a dramatic Betfred Cheltenham Gold Cup. Synchronised for AP McCoy, John Joe O'Neill and JP McManus won the Gold Cup.
I used to say to John Joe that it actually took him a circuit to warm up. He'd have been better off.
I'd say it took him 2 this day.
Maybe even 2.
Yeah.
But I actually think if he'd have gone out in another circuit, he'd have gone faster the third time than he would have on the first or the second time. So I suppose with the Gold Cup, Leonna, it was the one time that I felt, even though I'd been riding for the McManuses for quite a long time, and I'd won the Grand National and the Champion Hurl, I think that was the one day that I felt that I'd done what I'd been employed to do, and that was win the Gold Cup.